What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I'm your host, your bastard of ceremonies, Reckless Rexx Ruger. That, if you couldn't tell by them gangly ass teeth, is the Freddie Mercury puppet. We're back with another amazing episode of Pod Scum. This, as you know, is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rexx Ruger. No place else. You might also know me as Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. And excuse me while I give myself a look, admire my good side. Seems they're all my good sides. Of course, you know how I make that happen, kids. Right there. Get you some. You won't look this good. That's impossible. I've got the rock star genetics, but you can probably look pretty good. I don't know. Give it a try. I'm not making any promises, but soon we will have confirmation that you are indeed looking at Diamond David Lee Roth Jr., the son of glam, the front man for the band, adored by millions of fans, the peanut butter to your jam. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wop, Bop, Blue Bop, Wop, Bam, Bam, Shazam. Hot damn. I'm feeling good. And we all know that I'm looking good. And of course, no editing, no slick tricks here. You see me inviting my guests in here, man. I don't edit anything. People that have watched this for a long time know that. It's sloppy, it's raw, it's uncut, it's life happening right now and being recorded for posterity's sake, of course. And my guest is here right now, so I'm going to dispense of the formalities and get down to it. We got another great episode. Let's chop it up. Jaron.
Yo, what's happening?
I hope I said that right, man.
You got it right.
I did say it right, didn't I? Okay. I wasn't sure, man. I wasn't sure. There we go, man. What's up, man?
What's happening?
A commercial, huh? So I'm talking to a real live bona fide movie star.
I don't know about
that. That's pretty cool, though, right? I mean, you enjoy doing stuff like that?
I do. I'm actually not, well, at least not yet, really in the commercial. My girlfriend's band Paralandra is here at the Hard Rock Casino in Tulsa, doing a band style performance for a Hard Rock casino commercial, which is pretty cool. It's pretty high scale, so it's pretty cool to see the way that it goes down and how they get the shots and all that stuff. But I am here helping out, and then here in Tulsa, I play tomorrow with Lynch Mob with Paralandra as well. So kind of a 2-for-1 deal in Tulsa this week.
Yeah, well, I usually like to start these things kind of going back to the beginning, man. For you, was there a specific album or an artist or a song that kind of jump-started the whole music journey for you?
Jeez. That's a tough one, man. I would imagine as a little kid hearing something like I don't know, like Smoke on the Water or Iron Man, something like that as a young kid. And yeah, it's kind of like has that character-ish feel or that, larger than life sound and feel kind of to the story. And so I think that was like my first real taste of rock, if I could even remember that far back. But I just remember being a little kid and connecting to it that way. My dad tried to make it fun for me. And then once I actually got into it, it was a whole different ballgame.
And was the bass always the intended instrument of choice? Because you don't typically see a lot of young guys get into the bass because it isn't always deemed as, the glamour job in the band. You know what I mean? People want to be the front man or they want to be shredding on the guitar. Was it always the bass for you?
I think so. When I was younger, I never even really thought about playing an instrument. I think I had a guitar when I was a young kid, and I maybe took a lesson and was like, this is too hard to figure out. I'll stick to skateboarding or something fun. But, once I got into my teens and, started to really think about actually playing an instrument and partaking in performing, I think bass made the most sense because everybody needed a bass player and no one was playing bass in all the friend circles that I had. And also, bass is something that ran in my family. My dad was a bass player back in the 70s, for fun, not professionally, but, I think that exposure to the idea and then, having one at the house, it kind of just fell into place.
Make no mistake, man. The low end is what's holding it all down.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now, man, you're playing, and you have been for a while now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Playing with Lynch Mob. When you get asked to join a band with a guy as legendary as George Lynch, man, a legendary guitar player, how do you show up on his radar and land a gig like that?
I chalk it up to being out and about and visiting with people and meeting people and shaking hands, kissing babies, all that good stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
politicking.
I like to go out on stage every night and just put my all into it. So I think that if that translates to other people watching, that's building credibility and having somebody see me play and maybe vouch for me. That might play a factor in getting gigs, but it's just being at the right place at the right time and going out there and getting what you want. And there are different ways to do it, and I kind of like to do it the natural way. And if I click with people, that's great, and if that leads to work, then that's great too. And there's plenty of people I'm sure I don't click great with, or maybe don't play that style of music or whatever it might be. And so I think it's more just having that drive to go out and put yourself in the right place.
Well, I know we talked about band influences, man, but is there one person or maybe like a couple of names you could throw out there who you think have had the most influence as bass players on your style of playing?
Oof. It's funny because I never really listened to bass playing when I was younger. It wasn't even until more recently in my life that I really focused on it. It was always like I was always a guitar guy. I was always a Lynch and a Schenker and a Malmsteen guy. And so I was like, I think when I was first starting out, my friends always say, "Oh, you like to play lead bass," and growing up playing thrash and all that. Guys like Dee Dee Verney from Overkill.
Yeah.
And Geezer Butler or Sabbath, they always had that kind of riff driven or even a bass tone that stood out. And so I would say if I had to pick an early influence, it'd be like Dee Dee Verney, Geezer Butler, Steve Harris. And now in my later adult years, I listen a lot more for bass and appreciate it way more. And so I find myself as I get older trying to find my place in the different bands and hone my style kind of to fit what I'm doing at the time.
And what about touring, man? Because like touring now really seems like more than ever such an important part of the music industry, going out there and playing live gigs, selling merchandise. It's not the record industry that it once was, years ago. Do you like the kind of, nomadic existence of kind of being out there and touring, man? A lot of people kind of like their creature comforts. They like to be home. They like to be around stuff that's familiar. Sometimes people want to go out just for a couple of weeks. Some people do like doing the couple of months thing or longer. Where do you stand on touring?
I like being out all the time. Going home is fine, but I know what's at home. On the road, it's always something new. It's always something different. Even, revisiting places that I played a million times, there's always different people there or a different place to check out for lunch or, whatever the variable might be. But I'd much rather be out on the road. Back in my tantric days, we would do almost 12 months of touring, and I would love that. Now my schedule's a little bit more pulled back. I'm home a lot more, and that's fun too. But I've been out on the road for the last 2.5 weeks helping my girlfriend's band out on the road because I was going stir crazy at home. So I think
it's gotta be even worse when gotta be even worse when the girlfriend's on the road.
Yeah, well, it doesn't hurt that her band kicks ass, so at least I got that to work for and just be out there in the thick of it all. It's good to be out there meeting people and I guess what they would call it, networking or however you want to phrase it. But, just being in the action is where I feel alive. And I think that's where, that's where you capture all of the good things, whether it's a good gig or a good friendship or, whatever the case may be.
And you're doing Lynch Mob. What other projects are you currently involved in? For people that might not know, is there right now? And I feel bad for not knowing this because I had Reggie Wu on last year. Is there a form of Heaven's Edge out there at all right now? Is Heaven's Edge doing anything currently?
Yes, Heaven's Edge. We're wrapped up for the year in terms of gigs. We just did the Whiskey Go in LA. I don't know, about a month ago now. We play sporadically throughout the year, not too much. Those guys all have real lives, real jobs, and they still love to play, but it's not a full-time thing for them. And so that works perfect for me because my schedule with Lynch is so crazy. And Heaven's Edge does play out. We are doing another new record. We just released one last year, and sounds like we'll have another one for next year as well, which I'm sure will be backed up with some shows. And then outside of that, I'm doing a band called the L.I.F.E Project with my girlfriend, Cassandra Carson, and Josh Rand from Stone Sour. That We have 2 EPs coming out with that later, either this year or early next year. Tour dates, I'm not sure what we'll do with that. And then, yeah, I dabble in a few other things here and there. I have a band called MACH22 from my old stomping grounds in Philly that we haven't played in a long time, but we're gearing up to do some new music and some potential shows here. So, you know, where I have the space, I try and fill it with as much action as possible.
Have bass will travel.
Something like that.
So let me ask you from a fan standpoint, the best show that you've ever attended as a fan.
Jeez, so many of them. I mean, it really depends what you're looking for. My favorite growing up were always Slayer shows for sure. Maiden, you know, the classics. But you know, from a player standpoint, my favorite shows to go to were always going to watch George play, because every single show is different. And you know, you could go 4 nights in a row and get a completely different show every night, and that really inspired me as a musician, and you know, kind of gave me a little bit of a direction of something that I liked and wanted to lean, you know, more towards, instead of you know, going through the old motions and the routine and all that. You know, keeping it fresh and you know, feeling inspired every night and challenged. And you know, that's where I've been now, and that was always fun to watch growing up.
And so this is kind of full circle for you, because you from what it sounds like now, you're really getting to play alongside somebody that you've always been a fan of and admired.
For sure. You know, for many different reasons, you know, not like fanboy status, but more inspiration, you know, the sound, the style, but also the big thing for me was always the work ethic. Guys like Lynch, Glenn Hughes, these guys just work, multiple albums a year, tour, always putting out music. I love that. You know, I'd much rather have a million albums to, you know, look through and listen to and find, you know, some good stuff on there than 3 great ones. You know, I've always been, you know, a big fan of that. So, you know, I just like filling my time with being productive and trying to be more like my heroes. And that's keep your head down and work hard, and you know, have something to show for it when it's all said and done.
You think it's a generational thing, man? Because you know, I'm 51 years old. I certainly remember when Dokken was in full swing and George Lynch was on all the magazines, and I mean, he was really that guitar hero guy back in the day. You think it's kind of like that a throwback attitude, and it's like a generational thing, man? Why these guys still continue to really fly that flag and have that work ethic?
I think so. You know, my dad's 70 years old, and he always taught me, you know, whether I was doing yard work or whatever, you know, work hard, get the jobs done, you know, finish the job, have work ethic. That was always a big, like, underlying thing throughout my life. And so seeing it as an adult now and seeing it in guys like George, you know, I think it is something from back in the day. You know, kids were just trained to work hard by their fathers, and you know, doing a good job and being efficient was you know, a big deal. And so maybe that's just a part of my upbringing and being surrounded by older people out on the road. I've always played in bands with people much older than me. And I've learned a lot, and I cherish that and I value that. And I still think a good work ethic is everything in this industry.
When you're playing alongside these great legends, man, you know, obviously you're going to get better at your own craft, man. In recent years, man, what's something that you feel like you've focused on getting better on, or have gotten better on your instrument?
Playing with my fingers. I've always been a pick player my whole entire life until about probably 2020, 2021. I just made it a point. I said, you know what, I'm just going to sit down, and, you know, when I'm noodling on the couch or whatever, I'm just going to always play with my fingers, just to kind of get that, you know, technique and that kind of playing in under my belt. And now I found, you know, it came at the perfect time, because after a few years of doing it now, you know, I feel proficient enough to play, you know, whatever gig, you know, finger wise. You know, it's still obviously always a work in progress, and you're always sharpening your chops. But I would say that's one thing instrument wise that I've really put some time and some thought into recently.
And for people that don't know, man, what kind of an adjustment is that? Because I know people are saying, okay, man, usually string instruments, you know, you play with a pick, but we do see people play like with fingers or whatever. But for somebody that's been playing the bass for as long as you have, is it really a big leap? Is it a huge adjustment to learn how to do something like that?
I would say it's just like anything, you know, it's getting the muscles in shape to move fast and to be powerful and you know, move around the way they need to be, but also building up calluses on your fingertips. You know, if average person just picked up a bass guitar and started playing with their fingers would probably blister up or bleed or whatever. So it's a lot of conditioning. It's just like getting in shape, you know, like a singer would warm up and, you know, whatever, a runner would stretch, same kind of thing. But, you know, you go like this your whole life, and then all of a sudden it's about going like this. It's a whole different thing. It's a whole different motion. So, yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but it's been fun.
Do you find that it changes, you know, the sound, you know, of the bass? You know, is it a discernible difference, or is it more like of a subtle difference as opposed to playing with a pick as to playing with your fingers?
I think it's it really just depends what you're doing it for. You know, some songs I feel like need like you said, a more subtle touch, and so maybe the fingers are that, or maybe they need a different kind of a rhythm that, you know, the fingers just move smoother, you know, rather than using the pick. Sometimes it's just about the feel. It's really a variable for any particular situation, but you know, there are things that cater to each. And sometimes when I think I should be playing with my fingers, you know, one of my guys would be like, hey, maybe play that with a pick. Maybe it would sound a little better, a little more aggressive. And so, you know, I'm pretty open to stuff like that. So, you know, it doesn't hurt my feelings, but knowing that I have the option if need be is super important.
Now, I will not let you escape without asking a few of my subjective questions here that I have to hammer everybody with, man. For you, your Mount Rushmore, your top 4 greatest artists of all time. Not the greatest that you think, but your 4 greatest.
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't like that question. I love Lynch. I love Glenn Hughes. And then my like guitar tree could just be way more than 4 people. You know, I love Blackmore and Shanker and Iommi and all these guys. So it would really be hard.
That's a Mount Rushmore right there. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it really doesn't get much better than the forefathers and even the few generations after, man. I mean, everything up to, you know, the late 80s, early 90s guitar heroes. I mean, there's still some to this day. Richie Faulkner, Jared James Nichols. I mean, all these guys are carrying the torch, and I'm big into style, and, you know, a million people are good. A million people can play fast and scales and all this shit. But who stands out? Who has style? Who has tone and originality? And that's what I always look for.
Now, as a fan, when you're listening to music, do you tend to fall back on your old staples, or are you able to find like new bands and new music out there that kind of excites you?
I am able to find some new stuff that excites me. It's just a matter of literally finding it sometimes. You know, I find myself gravitating a lot towards European bands and bands from overseas, because in America, you know, it's all about the big rock song or the big hook and all that. I'm more sound, atmosphere, edgy type of thing. So I find a lot of throwback bands, if you even want to call them that, you know, just more melodic rock comes out of Europe, or you know, anywhere overseas, really. You know, they're just a little more dialed into the rock scene, I think. And so, yeah, I can find a little bit of both, but I do find myself in my habits of listening to the same old crap. And so usually if I get into somebody's car, I prefer them to pick the music, because you never know what you'll find through somebody else.
Yeah. Now, what's your own creative process like when you're going to create music? Like, are you somebody that gets ideas throughout the course of the day and they just kind of come to you, or do you sit down and kind of like, you know, force yourself to write music or to create music? Like, what kind of creative person are you?
I would say both. It depends what I'm working on. If I'm tracking a record for someone else, let's say I'm doing a Lynch Mob record, you know, and I get a bunch of guitar tracks, you know, if I'm on a timeline, I sit down and I force myself to come up with some good stuff to play along. Or sometimes I'll just listen a lot in my headphones. I'll go for a walk or whatever, somewhere through the park, and I'll just kind of listen to it till it makes sense to me. And then, you know, if an idea pops in, I'll try to record it real quick. Or if it comes to my own music, you know, I could be sitting here thinking of a riff while I'm talking to you, and immediately when I'm done, have to go, you know, hum it into my voice memo or whatever.
Is that the move? Are you like one of those? That's become pretty much the norm now, right? Humming it into the phone.
Pretty much, you know, for me now, it's like if I come up with a cool riff, I have to film myself playing it, because I used to do voice memos and I'd be like, I don't even know what I'm playing there. I don't even know how I did that. You know? So now I do videos. It's like just as helpful.
Now, if I were to take you, Jaron, and drop you on a desert island, and you can only take one album, what would the desert island album be?
Oh man. I have no idea. Probably nothing. I'd probably go silence rather than having to pick one. But I don't know. probably a live record of some sort, like a James Brown live, or
Oh
somebody
yeah.
that really like live, a Deep Purple made in Japan, something with a little bit of everything, but something that just resonates, special moments caught on tape. It's a hard thing to do. A lot of studio records are very tight and precise, but some bands really, they have those moments where it kind of just sits in there, and I find a lot of live performances have that for my own listening pleasure. And so I'm not sure I could pick one, but something along those
Yeah,
lines.
it's kind of like you're on this island and you're getting a concert all the time. That's not a bad idea. You know what I mean? And I get what you're saying too. Like a lot of those live albums back in the 70s and stuff were good because they would leave the fuck ups in there. You know what I mean? Like everything wasn't so polished and, as you said, so tight,
Yeah. Magical moments.
Yeah. Well, because it seems like music nowadays, man, because we do have so much technology at our disposal, it is easy to really almost make it perfect. And sometimes it might even come off as too perfect.
It does. I think that's just the thing with the times, especially, technology. Everyone has a laptop. They can record to a fake drum track or to a click or whatever. And it's like, for me, I just remember the days of being in the jam room and making a mistake, but it ended up being something really cool that spawned off a whole nother idea that became this special thing. And so, I would always love, preferably, to get into a studio and record live with the guys, versus tracking individually. But, in a different day and age, sometimes that's not the most feasible thing, budget wise or time wise.
Now, you are playing, as I said, alongside a bona fide legend in George Lynch, but has there been times in your travels in touring around the world where there's been someone that you've had the opportunity to meet where you've been pretty bowled over, and I don't want to say fanboy or starstruck or nothing, but somebody you got the opportunity to meet where you were kind of like, wow, I can't believe I just got to meet that person? I mean, George is a big one. Don't get me wrong. George is a big one. I'd probably fanboy a little bit if I got to meet George. George was a big part of my childhood, man. Those early Dokken albums, man, holy fuck. I mean, amazing. I mean, one of the ultimate shredders of all time. But you're playing with him every night. Yeah, still a big deal, obviously, man. But have there been other people along the way?
Yeah, there have. Now that I'm in this like scene and the circle of my heroes, this is my genre, the guys I love. It's really hard because, anywhere I go with George, if anybody's around, they want to talk to him, they want to hang out with George, and that's all great. But for me, I have history of meeting guys that I really liked as a young kid and having some not so pleasant experiences. And so for me, my rule now is like, I don't want to meet anybody unless it happens naturally and it's just cool. I don't want to be like, oh, I got to shake this guy's hand. It's like, I'm almost more afraid to meet people I like, because if it turns out that they're not cool, it kind of puts a stain on the music for me a little bit moving forward. And I don't want to remember it that way. I'd rather look at them as heroes than, I don't know, I guess peers. Even though I'm on stage with George all the time, I still look at him as the guy paving the way, my whole life. And so, got to have that respect as a fan and as a peer.
It's that age-old thing, like be careful when you're meeting your hero sometimes, suddenly that image can be tarnished a little bit, if you don't get the experience that you are expected or hoped for.
Sure, absolutely.
And now George, man, is Lynch Mob going out and playing a lot of their old stuff? And maybe you mentioned this earlier, or is Lynch Mob still continuing to create new music?
Both. So we put out a new record last year called Babylon.
Okay.
And we're currently working on another, and so that'll be out probably next year. And so, yes, we are doing new music, but we're still doing the old stuff too. You come to a live show, you're getting a mix of everything throughout not only George's career, but the Lynch Mob catalog. Stuff from 2000s, 90s, now. But obviously people want to hear the early stuff. They want to hear the Wicked Sensation album songs. And so we try to change it almost every night and switch it up and put different stuff in. But, it's hard. Some places they want to hear Dokken. Some places want to hear new. Some places want to hear just Lynch Mob. It's hard to pick, man. It's a great catalog to have that problem for.
And what's the creative process like when you create with George? Because he is, such a legend and such a prolific creative force. When you guys get in to make a Lynch Mob album, is there room for kind of everybody? Is it collaborative?
It is and it isn't. So when we're on stage, some nights we'll just jam. Sometimes we'll just start a riff and we'll all kind of find our way into it, and we'll jam for, whether it's 5 minutes, 20 minutes, just on an idea and kind of make a song up. And so in that sense, spawning some of these ideas that we may use for the record does come organically. However, a lot of it is also George in the studio, and he says, "Hey, you know, I want a beat kind of like this," and then he'll just pick a beat and start playing to it, whatever comes up. It's not like he's going in there like, "Oh, I've got all these great ideas I need to put down." I think a lot of it's kind of on the spot, and so it's a little bit of both, but primarily more kind of like just putting ideas down to a beat on the spot type of a thing.
And so for people that want to find out, man, Lynch Mob, I assume, has their own website, right?
I think it's just under georgelynch.com or, you know, whatever his site is now. And then obviously everything's social media. So find George's page, find mine, whatever. There are Lynch Mob pages out there. I just don't know how up to date they are. You know, with a guy like George who has a million bands and different things going on, it's hard to really navigate each and every single one of them. And so I do my best to constantly promote and post what's going on and share it with the guys. And so I would say find George, you'll find what's going on with Lynch Mob.
Well, I appreciate the time, man. I'm glad we got a chance to finally, do this, man. And I know we wobbled back and forth on times a little bit, man. We were going to do it later, and then, you know, my day ended up getting freed up a little bit. So I appreciate the flexibility, man. I'm glad we got a chance to chop it up, man. And, we're connected on Facebook now, so definitely stay in touch, man. I'd love to do it again, man.
Yes, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And, anytime that we come to town or whatever, you want to come hang out, you let me know.
I will do that, man. I'm in upstate New York, man. So if you're in my neck of the woods, man, let me know.
I think it's Jordan, New York, February 27th at Kegs.
Okay.
That's kind of like, I think, Syracuse-ish.
That's close. That's close. That's very close, man.
That's about as close as we're getting.
That's as close. Yeah. See, well, when it gets closer to that, man, I'll reach out.
Please do.
Yeah. All right. Great talking to you, Jaron. Really appreciate the time, brother. Thank you, man.
All right, man. Thank you. See you later.
Yeah, later, brother. There he goes, folks. Jaron Let me rewind. Jaron Gulino. Bass player for Lynch Mob and Heaven's Edge and formerly of Tantric. Holy shit, man. What a fucking lucky guy, man. Getting to play alongside the legendary Shred Master himself. You know him from his years in Dokken and, of course, the legendary Lynch Mob, George Lynch, and Jaron playing alongside of him, playing the bass alongside him every single night, man. Wow, what a huge fucking treat for that young man. I'm not going to fucking say I'm not a little bit jealous, man. Holy shit, man. Fucking what more can you say, man? I mean, to share the stage with a guy that's as legendary as George Lynch, man, it's got to be just a great addition to that young man's resume. And he's been in the band for quite a while, I do believe. I don't have it right in front of me right now. But still, I mean, 51 years old, man. God damn, that I rock out to a lot of fucking Dokken, man. I mean, holy shit. This brings back a floodgate of memories, man. So, it is great to know that Lynch Mob will be coming in my neck of the woods in February, man. I may take him up on that and reach out to Jaron and go out and see that show. That sounds absolutely amazing, man. And so I really appreciate Jaron Gulino's time, man. Of course, if the legendary George Lynch and Lynch Mob are in your neck of the woods, go check them out, man, because George Lynch, one of the great shredder guitar players of his generation, of any generation, man. The legendary George Lynch can do things on the guitar that are absolutely fucking insane and magical and innovative. The guy is just a monster player, man. And so go wherever Lynch Mob is. Also, Jaron plays with Heaven's Edge. Great band. I had Reggie Wu on here last year, man. If you ever have a chance, and I don't know how often they're out there playing shows. It sounds like they are in the studio and creating new music. I don't know how often they get out there, but go check out wherever you can find Heaven's Edge. Check out their website, check out whatever. If you can get out to see them, another great band, Reggie Wu, another fucking amazing guitar player. So Jaron aligns himself with some great players. He's a great player, man. So anything that he's involved in that you can get out to see or support, definitely get out there, man. Big thank you to Jaron Gulino for doing the show, man. Really appreciate it, man. Hope you guys enjoyed it, man. Again, let me get my obligatory promos in here. Make sure to like and follow PodScum on Facebook. I said so. The Freddie Mercury puppet said so. So that's that. And of course, the episode is over. Let me see how I held up. My goodness. Should be a crime to look this good. That's all I'm going to say, man. And I'm also going to say thank you, Pops. Thank you for the Roth quaff. Thank you for the rock star good looks. I owe him a debt of gratitude. And I also owe a debt of gratitude to our fine folks at Aquanet. Get it, love it, use it, and strive to look this good. You won't, but strive. So, again, thank you to Jaron Gulino of Lynch Mob and Heaven's Edge. Definitely go out and support anything that he's doing, man. And certainly do yourself a favor and get out to see the mighty Lynch Mob and the legendary George Lynch. Also, if you're watching this show, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on this channel to stay tapped in to the place where all the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rexx Ruger. The best conversations, bar none. And we just had another one, man. And so as I always say, when I end these amazing, amazing episodes, remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.